It's Jamie here from Blood, Sweat and Metal. How you going, man?
Hey, good. How you doing?
Good, man. It's such a pleasure having you on this show, talking about not just the latest coming album that's coming out next January, but also talking about the Download Festival for the very first time for Australia. Before I get into the questions, man, I know you guys were here back in 2015 on the last Soundwave Travelling Festival of Australia. We had a bit of a break. There haven't been any festivals going on, but you guys must be wrapped that now that you're coming back to a travelling, well, not a travelling festival, but a festival of this magnitude.
Oh yeah, man. We got to play main stage at Download in the UK this past Download, and man, it was massive. And I think for such a massive and monumental festival with such a rich legacy and lineage to be coming to Australia, especially a few years after Australia has had a proper rock and metal festival, I think it's going to be massive. It's going to be so sick.
Yeah. It's just been such itchy feet for the Australian metal fans without having a festival for 3 years since the last Soundwave Festival. We've just been so eager for anything, basically, of this magnitude, and Download, which had branched out their advertisement, so to speak. They've been to France, they've been to Spain, now they're branching out to Australia. This is very well done. It took a lot of planning and a lot of resource to get this done, but you guys, you've been going from strength to strength, and not only that, you teased the fans early this month or last month with a double punch, so to speak, with two singles off this coming album called, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat, of this new coupling album called Defy, with their singles Unbreakable and Back to Me. I just want to ask, had there anything changed in a dynamic side of things, a music side of things, since the last album? Or have you guys just simply gone from strength to strength since the last album to now?
Yeah, for us, the way that we've created music in the past really hasn't changed too much, albeit we're down a member. But everything we did in the past was super collaborative, like in every aspect of making that music. So, for us, like getting back in the studio, making this album was kind of a way for us to heal through that change and also to kind of grow through it. So, having done that kind of made us all stronger as a unit, made us closer, the four of us closer together than we've ever been. So, we do feel strong, and at the same time, I think today is day 77 of us being on tour straight for 77 days, which is it's gnarly. When we get home, we will have been on tour for 97 days in a row, and at the same time, like, it's really crazy because it doesn't really feel like 97. It doesn't feel like I don't feel as decrepit as I thought I'd feel. so maybe some of that strength is exuding.
Yeah. Well, just briefly, if you've got time, you're also excited to be debuting the music video called Warzone. I just wanted to ask, can you describe that to the fans about that song, and also what it means to you personally to sing that song?
Yeah, so Warzone is all about an anxiety attack that I had at like 3 a.m. one night. We'd had the instrumental for a while, and I was just kind of sitting on it trying to figure out, what I wanted to lyrically write about. And so I had just a terrible, terrible anxiety attack at like 3 a.m. Like, I felt like I couldn't catch my breath, I was essentially alone in my apartment because my lady was asleep. So, like, it was just kind of, and it's something I've suffered with anxiety for like many, many years, but it had been a while since I'd had an anxiety attack like that. And so, for me, one of the things I like doing that always kind of recenters me is working on music. So, it was like 3:30 in the morning. I brewed a cup of coffee and I sat down with my headphones and my phone, which is what I always type my lyrics into. And I was like, know what, I'm going to write about this. You know, if anything, it could be kind of therapeutic. You know, music's very therapeutic for us as individuals and as a band, you know, to do. So that song is all about that, and it's all about how if you suffer from anxiety, your head can feel like a war zone, and it can feel like you're kind of watching it like from the top down. And in reality, a lot of what makes anxiety terrible is feeling powerless in it. So that's essentially what the theme of the song is, which is incredibly personal to me. So singing that song live is kind of you know, it always kind of reminds me of that moment, but at the same time, it serves as a reminder to myself that, you know, you get past those things, and that's all just temporary, you know. So while it is terrible while it's happening, you know, it's just momentary. But then, you know, for the video, you know, as far as imagery, just kind of it kind of just captures, kind of encapsulates what it's like to have a panic attack. You know, it's very kind of claustrophobic. It's very fast-moving. The water, you know, it can make you feel like you're drowning, like you can't catch your breath. So, you know, all in all, it's just about that.
Yeah. Well, I know there's been trials and tribulations within the band, like where certain members have come and go. But for you, Aaron, how did you take that on a professional level besides the personal level? Because from what I can gather, with you being in the band now, there's a new chapter, and there's a new album coming out next January. There's a new chapter. Do you see this as a new beginning for you guys, or do you think that it's a new leaf just been turned over?
Yeah, you know, I definitely think it's more of just a new leaf. You know, I've been in the band now about 5.5 years. And, you know, the band put out 2 albums even before I was in the band, you know, and the band put out 1 album before Alan was in the band. So there's been lineup changes, you know, up until about 5 years ago, there were lineup changes that happened pretty consistently. But you know what, for me, music's all about the songs, you know, and a band is all about the songs it creates, not necessarily about who's playing them.
Yeah.
So for me, you know, I think the distinguishing between the personal and the professional level gets blurred, you know, because this band is absolutely our passion, and at the same time, you know, it's our business. But, you know, like, just on a professional level with regards to the band, you know, we really didn't even think about any of the professional side of it until, you know, we had music that was ready to be released, and that's when we have to talk to the label about, okay, well, how do we get this out? How do we do this? How do we do that? You know, but for us, like, you know, we only treat it as a business when we're dealing with numbers. You know, nothing with regards to making music is ever treated like a business, you know.
Yeah. It just goes to show that you guys aren't the only band that's gone through a transition period of new members coming in and original members leaving out. And you guys will not be the last also. But it just goes to show that the old fans, they get so used to that lineup, and when someone else comes in, they get a little bit uncomfortable because it breaks their comfort zone, so to speak. But as I mentioned before, there's been many bands, even bands that we all grew up with, all changed their lineup in some way, shape or form. And somehow it made the band bigger rather than losing their credibility. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, what's been really crazy is to see growth so soon after, you know, essentially having this major change and putting out new music. You know, we've only really been playing shows as a 4-piece since like April, you know, March, April. And to just kind of see where things have gone, and you know, ultimately it's a testament to our fans. You know, bands are only as big as their fan base. You know what I mean? And the fans are the ones that decide what songs they love and what albums they love. And you know what, I think with regards to lineup changes, you know, like, this record is all about change, you know, because of the change we went through, and every song is kind of its own little way of uniquely looking at change and suggesting ways to get through that change. And, you know, like, people will always like lineups of bands that they grow up with and things like that, and they will always resist that because that's a change. It is quintessentially a change. So, human beings just don't like change in general. It's something that everybody struggles with in some capacity or another. So I never, ever harbor any resentment for somebody who wants to cling to the past because, it took me a long time to try and break that from myself. Everyone wants to live in the past, and everyone wants for the things that make them nostalgic to be in the present because it's a comforting feeling, but no matter how hard you try, you can never merge the past with the present, nor the present with the future, so you just got to live in the now and accept things for what they are.
Yeah.
And I sound like a monk.
It just goes to show of Mice and Men, you guys been around for nearly a decade, and with so much things that you guys have achieved, like, hitting number 1 on the Billboard for the rock and independent charts and number 4 in the Genya, banning top 200 and all that. With a band that's only been around for less than a decade or just over a decade, a lot of bands don't get that. But with the Mice and Men, you guys seem to just been stepping one foot in front of the other and breaking not the record, what I'm trying to say, you're breaking your own boundaries by expanding yourself in a way that new bands find it hard now. The question I'm trying to ask is, Aaron, looking back at the career of Mice and Men, would you change anything for the purpose of what's coming around now? Because you guys just keep going from strength to strength.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I think even in a lot of ways our missteps are lessons learned. And I think butterfly effect. Everything kind of leads into something else. And I think that really all we've ever done was to just try and be very true to ourselves and true to our fans and true to the meaning behind the music and true to the reasons why we got into this in the first place. And it's pretty crazy to think back, even from when I joined the band to where we are now. Like it's really kind of surreal, and at the same time I wouldn't want to change anything because where we're at right now, yeah, it's crazy.
It truly is.
If we changed one minute thing, you and I might not be having this call, So I think for that sake, I'd rather just have done it exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Because even like I said, even missteps and mistakes and misfortunes, they all end up leading you somewhere. Especially if you can take those and learn from them.
Well, I do know a lot of kids that would love to be in your shoes right now.
I apologize for interrupting.
Working real.
Your 1 minute reminder. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, Aaron. I was about to say a lot of kids would love to be in your shoes right now, just to get up on stage and just enjoy what they love doing. And that's the main thing about it, is having the passion and the drive to do what you do best, whether you get success or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, just one last thing, Aaron. You guys are heavily influenced by Korn and Limp Bizkit and Rage Against the Machine. I bet you're looking forward to jamming on the same stage with Tom Morello while they play their Prophets of Rage set.
Oh, yeah. We got to play right before them at Hellfest this past year on the main stage, which was so sick. Literally, immediately after we were done, and I think we played for close to an hour, and immediately after we were done, it was sweltering heat. I was dripping sweat. I grabbed a bottle of water, I poured it over my head, chugged the rest of it, and went right next door to the other main stage to watch them. So that'll be sick. Cannot wait to see them again.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's all the time we got for. But to the fans out there, of Meister Man's new album called Defy will be released on January 19. Go to check their new song out called Warzone. It's on YouTube. And also check out the other two singles, Unbreakable and Back to Me. And also, for those fans that are arguing about whether they sit on the fence, do yourself a favour, buy yourself a Christmas present and get yourself a download ticket and you'll get to see Of Mice and Men. Thank you, Aaron, and so much for joining us, man.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. We'll see you then.
See you, man.